The dark alleys and streets surrounding the jail are illuminated by 100 guttering brands. Magnon soldiers are everywhere, casting their suspicious eyes on over every section of the nighted town laid bare by their torches.
The nighted town?
Yeah, as in not night as in a night, but night as in night.
Oh,
The
okay.
the night of the night.
Yeah, your kind skills keep you hidden from sight, and soon you reach the jail, but only to discover that the entrance is now heavily guarded by a platoon of Dracarim. You abandon your hopes of entering by the front door, and instead you circle around to an alley at the rear of the building, where you discover a line of windows, each one crisscrossed with iron bars. Instinct leads you to the last in the line, and you peer inside to see Captain Prague lying on a bed of filthy straw. He looks in poor shape. Both his eyes are bruised, his lips are swollen, and his bushy moustache is caked with dried blood. You whisper his name, and warily he turns his head towards the cell window. Then he sees you, and suddenly his whole face lights up with renewed hope. "Thank the God you're still free, Lone Wolf," he says quietly, pressing his battered face to the bar. "The Dracarim have tried to make me talk, but I kept silent. They know nothing about the mission." You examine the cell window and reassure Prague that you will soon spring him from this jail, but he insists that you do not risk your life on his account. "Listen, sire, I have learned that Magnon isn't here in Chicona. When the jailers beat me, I faint unconsciousness and heard them say that the leader is at a place called Anta. It's a ruined temple some 40 miles away to the north. They talked of a certain victory now that the warlord has found the stone. Please, Lone Wolf, I beseech you to continue without me. Go to Anta and defeat Magnon before it is too late." Then a yellow flake of torchlight at the end of the alley cuts short your conversation. It's a Dracarim patrol. They turn the corner and come marching towards you with purposeful steps. "Don't give up hope, Captain," you say as you make ready to run from the approaching patrol. "I'll come back for you." This quarter of the town is now teeming with enemy soldiers, and as you hurry away from the cell window, you know that you are in grave danger of being caught unless you can find somewhere safe to hide. At length you discover refuge on the far side of the main square. It is an empty grain storage tower, which overlooks Magnon's headquarters and the jail, and it is here that you spend a sleepless night contemplating the mission and the fate of your captured companion. Now that it appears Magnon has found the Doomstone, you know you should do as Captain Prague insists. You should try to reach Anta and confront him before he can use his newfound powers against the Lentians. But you are loath to abandon your guide. You have promised Prague that you will help him escape, and a Kai Grandmaster never breaks his word. The captain's been captured as a spy, and as such he can expect no mercy from the Dracarim. Soon after dawn you witness some activity in the main square which confirms your worst fears. A squad of Dracarim engineers arrive and set to work constructing a raised wooden platform in the center of the square. An hour later, when their work is complete, a covered wagon arrives. The engineer unloads a large lump of black oak, which they place in the middle of the platform. And as you focus on the block, a shiver runs the length of your spine the moment you realize its grim purpose.
Oh god, they're gonna decapitate him, aren't they?
The solid lump of oak is an executioner's block. Its surface is cut and scarred by blows from a heavy axe, and its sides are stained dark with the blood of 100 Lentian prisoners who have lost their lives upon it. Suddenly your thoughts are disturbed by the rhythmic stamp of marching feet along. Sorry, I just skipped a line there. And your eyes are drawn to the avenue which runs alongside Magnon's headquarters. Down this thoroughfare comes a regiment of Dracarim. They file into the square and form up in 3 lines facing the platform. Then an open wagon, drawn by a brace of half-starved oxen, emerged from the alleyway beside the jail. Captain Prague is standing in the rear of the wagon, with his hands tied behind his back. Despite the bumpy ride, he stands rigidly at attention, proudly defiant in the face of imminent death. The wagon halts, and the captain is dragged up onto the platform by 3 brutish jailers. He is made to kneel down before the block as a Dracarim officer hurriedly reads the content of a scroll to the assembled troops. He is condemning the captain to death for spying. When he finishes the reading, he takes a 2-handed axe from one of the jailers and walks slowly across the platform towards the block. Clearly he intends to carry out the execution personally.
And all the while this has been told to us, what exactly can we do?
There's a picture.
Pass the popcorn.
So yeah, here's the scene before you.
And congratulations, Givenir. You just managed to sound darker than I have ever done in my life.
It's a gift.
That's what it sounded like to me. He was standing there gawking at it. Let's do something.
Right.
Should we do
Serious?
something?
We should do something.
Yeah, we should do something!
Well, do you wish to use your bow?
Yes?
Yep.
Yeah, are there other options, but because if there aren't, then yes.
Use your bow or not use your bow.
Then we'll use our bow.
To
Yeah.
use our bow or to not use our bow? That is the question.
Yeah.
Fire goddamn arrow before they knock his block off.
Yep. You take an arrow from your quiver and place it to your bow in readiness to shoot. You gauge the range at 40 yards as you take aim at the Karam officer. Patiently you wait for him to reach the execution block, and at the very moment he stops moving, you release your straining bowstring and send your arrow arching through the air towards his head. Roll the die and add 4.
There you go. Oh, 13.
Sayonara.
Your arrow strikes with deadly accuracy. The Drakam officer drops the axe, clutches the shaft, which has suddenly buried itself in his throat.
Time thanks, sir.
Deep throat.
And
What?
Deep throat. He tries to scream, but the arrow has destroyed his larynx, and slowly he topples from the platform without uttering a sound. For a few moments the assembled Drakam are transfixed by his death. Then a solitary voice shrieks up in alarm. Up there! The arrow came from up there! As one, the soldiers draw their weapons and come rushing towards the ground floor entrance to the grain tower. You retreat from the window and look around for a means to escape, for already you can hear the first of the enemy climbing the stairs. With fear running cold in your veins, you cross to a window on the far side of the tower. Outside, directly below the window, you see a Drakam lancer sitting astride a warhorse. His lance is sheathed in a tube-like scabbard fixed to the rear of his saddle, and in his hands he holds aloft a heavy-bladed cavalry saber. He is staring at the onrushing soldiers and is completely unaware that you're barely a few yards away. Swiftly you climb onto the window ledge, draw your weapon, and leap onto the unwary lancer below. Roll the die and add 3 for having hunt mastery. Grand hunt mastery.
11.
You know, I might actually fall over in shock if you say 3 or 4 at any time.
I have said 3 or 4 today. I actually think I had 2 at some point.
Yeah, but they are very, very far between each other. Most of the time, the die likes you. You
What can I say? I'm charming.
Well,
Anyway,
admittedly,
let's move on.
yes, that's true. You crash down upon the unsuspecting lancer and send him tumbling from the saddle. Then you seize control of his startled horse and take off across the square. With your left hand, you unholster the lance and bring it to bear as you gallop headlong towards the mass of the Drakam soldiers who stand between you and the platform.
Alright, time to get to work on those. And I need to be honest here, as I saw them in the picture, they look like a bunch of goddamn warrior ants, just unable to think for themselves.
Well, we don't really know much about the current culture, so except
I would
they're
like
very
to.
military.
I would like to know as a person, but as you know, Lone Wolf, death to the Dakarim!
In any case, you steer the horse towards the platform and the troops scatter before you. All that is save one. He is a Death Knight Sergeant, an elite Drakam warrior. He curses his comrades for their cowardice, and as you bear down on him with your lance leveled at his chest, he draws his sword and gets ready to meet your attack head on. Then the tip of your lance strikes his steel breastplate and you're forced back in your saddle with a jolt that leaves you breathless. How high is your endurance?
Let me take a look. Our endurance at this point is, and I need to do this fast, we have 38 endurance.
Right. Give me a roll a die and add 2 for having over 12 endurance.
10.
The tip of your lance penetrates the Death Knight's armored breastplate and kills him instantly. The force of the blow is such that it snaps the lance in two and nearly knocks you clean out of your saddle, but you manage to hold tight and quickly you recover. Moments later you reach the platform to see Captain Prague struggling to break free from his jailers. He succeeds and he comes running towards you. With a yell he leaps from the platform and lands astride the rump of your horse. "Go, Lone Wolf, go!" he shouts excitedly. You dig
Go,
your heel...
Lone Wolf! Go, Lone Wolf!
Yep. You dig your heels into the horse's flanks and take off through this confused mass of Dakarim towards an avenue on the north side of the square. Prague's hands are still tied behind his back, and in order to stop himself from falling off the horse, he is forced to hang onto your cloak with his teeth.
Huh. Okay, that's creative.
You gallop out of the square and along the northern avenue, which is flanked by barracks and hovels. Arrows come whistling from the windows, but they are poorly aimed and fly wide of their mark. You glance over your shoulder and see that some Drakam horsemen are grouping up at the exit from the square in order to give chase. You urge the horse onwards, and as you speed towards a distant corner, you use your Magna Chi skill of Nexus to loosen Prague's bonds. Minutes later, you turn the corner and see the road which leads out of Shokona. Your spirits rise, but they are quickly dashed when you see that your route of escape is blocked. A barricade has been thrown across the road which leads north out of Shokona. The Dakaran posted here have been alerted by the sound of chaos coming from the square, and hurriedly they are trundling an armored wagon across a gap at the center of the barricade to seal off the exit completely. You slap your horse's rump and gallop towards this shrinking gap, but 3 spear-wielding guards see you approaching, and they rush forward to challenge you with their weapons held ready to strike. Do you wish to use Kai Search?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes!
You draw upon your mental powers and launch a blast of psychic energy at the 3 Dakaran sentries. The effect is instantaneous. They begin to shake uncontrollably, and all 3 drop their spears. And you lose 1 endurance point due to using the Kai Search. Unable to move aside, you trample them into the ground as you gallop through the gap in the barricade and race along the road beyond. You are passed successfully through the inner defensive line, but as Prague quickly points out, you have yet to reach the outer defenses of Shokona. Uncertainty haunts your thoughts as you race across the desolate no man's land that lies between the inner and outer defenses of Shokona. Soon you catch sight of these outer defenses. They comprise a line of man-sized wooden casks filled with earth, behind which there stands a squad of Dakaran archers. Their bows are loaded and aimed, ready to fire. Quickly, you steer your horse away from the road and set off across rough, snowy ground towards a distant line of trenches. Fortunately, the defenses at the northern perimeter are much weaker than elsewhere. The trenches are empty, the guards having left earlier to watch Prague's execution in the main square. However, the rough terrain soon takes its toll upon the already tired horse. He is near exhaustion, and as you approach the trenches, you fear he is not strong enough to make the jump.
Can we...
Roll the die.
Oh.
8.
Yeah. Despite his fatigue, the horse clears the trench and carries you safely beyond range of the Dakaran archers. For half a mile, you skirt along the edge of the Tosas forest. Then, the moment the enemy are lost to sight, you rejoin the road and make your escape northwards.
Well, what we ride on right now is one very stubborn equine.
Yep. Congratulations, you managed to save one unimportant person and alert the enemy to your presence, thus possibly jeopardizing your entire mission.
Wow. You
What
have an
a show. What a show.
Yeah. Killjoy.
As
At
you,
least that's one guy that didn't die.
That's true!
True.
As you ride along the road of frozen earth, the sky begins to darken ominously and the weather closes in. What begins as a light flurry of snow soon deteriorates into an icy squall, which cuts you like a knife. Your Magnifier skills protect you from the cold, but Captain Prague is not so fortunate. He utters not a word of complaint, but you can sense that he is in great discomfort. Moreover, your horse, already tired from the exertions of the escape, is greatly weakened by the icy winds. Eventually, it can carry you no further and you are forced to halt and dismount. Your Kai senses warn you that enemy cavalry are in pursuit. You are a few miles ahead of them, but their mounts are fresh and the distance between you is shrinking rapidly. You are about to suggest to Prague that you abandon the horse altogether and seek shelter in the surrounding forest, when suddenly there is a lull in the storm and the falling snow thins out to reveal an unexpected sight, which there is a picture of.